You saw someone get hurt once. Maybe it was a fender bender on a busy road. Maybe it was someone being harassed on the train. Maybe it was a stranger who fell on the sidewalk, and you watched and waited and kept walking. You told yourself someone else would stop. You told yourself you weren't sure if they needed help. You told yourself it wasn't your place. You weren't wrong to feel those things. You were, in that moment, running a program your brain has been running for years. And here is the part no one tells you. Almost everyone around you was running the exact same program at the exact same time. This is the bystander effect, and it has nothing to do with how good a person you are. In 1964, a young woman named Kitty Genovese was stabbed to death outside her apartment building in Queens, New York. The attack lasted more than half an hour. Newspaper reports at the time claimed that 38 neighbors had witnessed the assault and done nothing. No one called the police. No one opened a door. The story entered American mythology as proof of something deeply broken in modern society. The cold, indifferent city, the anonymous crowd, the death of human decency. Two psychologists at Columbia University read those reports and felt something different. Not grief, not outrage, curiosity. John Darley and Bibb Latané didn't believe the answer was that simple. They didn't believe 38 people had chosen, one by one, to let someone die because they didn't care. They suspected the answer was structural, mechanical, something built into the situation itself, not the people inside it. And they decided to find out. In 1968, they designed a series of experiments that would transform the way psychologists understand human behavior in groups. The first was simple. A participant was placed in a room and asked to fill out a form. Smoke began to slowly pour in under the door. When a participant was alone, they reported it within seconds. Almost every single time. But when the room contained two other people, both secretly instructed to ignore the smoke and keep working, the real participant often sat in a thickening haze, glancing at the others, doing nothing. Some remained in visible discomfort for several minutes without speaking. The smoke was real. The discomfort was real. The crowd made it invisible. In a second experiment, participants wore headphones and listened to a group discussion that included what sounded like someone having a seizure in the next room. When participants believed they were the only person who could hear it, 85% left immediately to get help. When they believed 4 other people could also hear it, that number dropped to 31%. The same sound. The same apparent emergency, but the crowd changed the math entirely. Darley and Latané named this diffusion of responsibility. The more witnesses present in a crisis, the less any single witness feels personally accountable for acting. The moral weight of the moment spreads across the group until no single person is carrying enough of it to move. The mechanism runs in 2 stages, and both happen faster than you can think. The first is called social proof. When you encounter an ambiguous situation, your brain immediately looks to the people around you for information. If those around you look calm, your brain interprets the scene as safe. If they look alarmed, your brain escalates. This is normally an efficient shortcut. In a crowd of experienced people, reading their cues gives you fast and often accurate information. But in an emergency, when every person in the crowd is doing exactly the same thing, checking the reactions of everyone else, you get a feedback loop of false calm. Everyone looks okay because everyone is scanning everyone else, and no one has moved yet. The situation reads as normal because no one's behavior has declared otherwise. The second stage is the diffusion itself. Once you've registered that something might be wrong, the math of the crowd begins. Someone should help. But there are 20 other people right here. Surely someone already called. Surely someone more qualified is handling it. The imagined action of the crowd substitutes for actual action. Everyone waits for the help that everyone else assumes someone else already sent. No one sent it. Researcher Levine at Lancaster University pushed this further in 2005. He wanted to know whether the bystander effect was truly universal, or whether the relationship between the bystander and the person in need could shift the outcome. In a study with soccer fans as participants, he found something striking. When bystanders shared a strong group identity with the person who needed help, same team, same tribe, the bystander effect weakened significantly. They moved, they helped. When the person in need was a stranger with no visible connection to the group, the effect held. This reframed the problem. The bystander effect isn't only about numbers. It's about psychological distance. The more abstract, anonymous, and disconnected the person in front of you feels, the easier it is for your brain to assign their emergency to someone else. Which raises the question, why is a stranger a stranger? Your brain didn't evolve in a city of millions. It evolved in a social group of 30, 50, perhaps 150 people at most. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar theorized that this number, around 150, represents the approximate cognitive limit of the meaningful social relationships a human brain can maintain. Every person in your ancestral group was known. Every face had a name, a history, a place in the group. When someone in that band collapsed, the question of whose responsibility it was to help didn't arise. There was no crowd to absorb the obligation. There was just you and someone whose name you knew. Your nervous system still runs on that scale. It was not built for the modern crowd. It doesn't know what to do with 500 faces it has never learned. The algorithm your ancestors used to navigate an intimate village meets the overwhelming scale of the city and produces a result no one intended: paralysis disguised as patience. But here is the part that changes everything. The bystander effect can be broken in seconds, with almost no effort. The key is specificity. Darley and Latané discovered that diffusion of responsibility collapses the moment someone names a single person and gives them a direct task. Not, someone call 911. Not, does anyone know CPR? Those instructions evaporate into the group. They sound like someone else's job. But if you point at one specific face and say, you, in the gray coat, call 911 right now, that person acts. Almost immediately. The responsibility is no longer diluted. It has landed on one person and they feel the full weight of it. This is why trained first responders are taught to make direct eye contact, to point, to assign. Not because people are resistant to helping, but because helping requires someone to feel that the moment belongs to them, that they, specifically, have been chosen by the situation. The growing bystander intervention training movement operates on this exact logic. Programs that have been adopted in universities, workplaces, and communities around the world don't try to shame people into action or convince them that they're secretly selfish. They teach the mechanism. They give people a name for the freeze response. They offer a short, specific script for the moment the freeze begins. Words to say, steps to take, a path through the paralysis. The research behind these programs is consistent. People who understand why they hesitate are measurably more likely to act when the situation arrives. Naming the mechanism doesn't just explain behavior after the fact. It changes behavior in real time. There is something quietly significant in that. Knowing the name of your brain's failure mode gives you something to grip when the failure starts. Bibb Latané spent decades after his original research arguing that the bystander effect is, at its core, a story about suppression rather than absence. The instinct to help, he believed, was present in nearly every person in every crowd. The crowd didn't kill it. The crowd buried it. Remove the anonymity, assign direct responsibility, make one human visible to another, and the helping rises back to the surface on its own, almost immediately, as if it had been waiting all along. That reframe matters, and here is why. You live in a world built for the bystander effect. You move through cities where anonymity is the default, where you are surrounded by strangers, where no one's name is known. Social media has extended this into the digital space, platforms where millions can witness the same event unfold and each feel, individually, that their response is unnecessary, because surely someone with more reach, more proximity, more authority will say or do the right thing. The diffusion scales to match the crowd. The numbers grow. The weight per person approaches nothing. And yet the mechanism still breaks the same way it always has. One person, visible, directly addressed, given clear and specific responsibility. The next time you're in a situation where something is wrong and the crowd around you is doing nothing, your brain will begin its calculation. You'll feel the pull of diffusion. You'll scan the faces around you, looking for the person who is about to act. You'll feel the weight of it starting to slide off you. Now you'll know exactly what that feeling is. And knowing what it is might be exactly the thing that makes you point at someone's face, say their name or their jacket color, and make the emergency real for both of you. Because you saw someone get hurt once. You waited. You watched. You told yourself someone else would handle it. And somewhere in that crowd, someone was waiting for you to be the one who moved first.